Continuing with the subject of education. If you're going to work in a school, there are some questions that you should ask. Number one, you should ask the principal or the general manager, headmaster, headmistress, all different titles for the same thing. And you should know before I begin that the educational system or the board of education is not like it is here in the States. The board of education is really a board of directors. So it is comprised of a body of people, and most of the time one of the headmaster or the general manager or the principal is on the board of directors for the school. This sometimes, in many cases, creates a conflict of interest. Whereas you're looking at bottom line as in regards to profit margin, okay? Because a lot of these schools, many of the bilingual schools, is a very, very, very lucrative business. Very lucrative. For example, you may have a school that is charging 2,000 dinar per year. Average class size is about 20 students. So you do the math. 20 times 200, it's like 40,000. 40,000 dinar from one class. Now imagine you have 20 students in a class, and that's for one grade. Imagine if you just had one class for one grade. So grade 1 is 1. Grade 2 is 1 class. Grade 3 is 1 class. Grade 4 is 1 class. You're saying, and your school goes up to 12th grade, as an example. So you're saying 40,000 dinar times 12. Okay, so it is very, very, very lucrative when you consider that the overhead for the teachers is extremely low. You must know that if you come to the Middle East, you are paid your salary will be based on your passport, not necessarily on your years of experience. That will be taken into consideration to some degree, but the amount that you'll make, it won't be the same as your counterpart if their passport is different. People from the Philippines are paid at a different rate. People from India are paid at a different rate. Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, America, Canada, Australia, and the list goes on and on. You're not paid necessarily because you have a master's degree in education. You're paid because you have a master's degree in education and your passport is American. Or you have a bachelor's degree in science, but your passport is Egyptian. Your pay will be much different. Okay, so a lot of times they hire labor like this from the Asian countries and from the non-Gulf Arab countries, like those Arabic-speaking Africans in Egypt, right? Most Egyptians, in Egypt, the language of Egypt is Arabic. So they hire a lot of Egyptians. They hire a lot of people from Pakistan, from Bangladesh, and they will group certain types of, it is known that certain types of nationalities teach certain kinds of subjects. So many people know if you want to teach math, or if you want a good math teacher or a good science teacher, get a Pakistani, or get a Bangladeshi, or get an Indian, because they're really good at math. If you want English, get someone from the West, an American, an Australian, a Canadian, someone from the UK if it's a British curriculum, New Zealand, South Africa even, okay, because they have very good teachers in South Africa, from the Philippines, like this. But you're paid according to your passport. When you go for your interview, it is very, very important that you not take the first offer that they give. Don't take the first offer that is given to you. Hold out, because as one very wise brother gave us some advice. He said, you do not get what you're worth, you get what you negotiate. That is critical, because whatever you negotiate at the beginning of your contract is going to stick until the time for the contract ends. So if you agree, for example, to 500 dinar, which is really chicken feed for an American. If you agree to 500 dinar to teach at XYZ school, more than likely your contract will run, in most cases, The first contract runs in many places. It runs for only 1 year. Then after that, you will renew for 2 years, 2 years, 2 years, 2 years until you retire. So if you are agreeing to 500, it's not going to change anytime in that contract period. And then the raise that you get in most cases will be minimal. It may be 5%, maybe. It may be 10 or 20 extra dinar, maybe. 30, 40, 50 dinar, maybe. And if you get anything other than that, in many cases they want you to assume more responsibility. So you're doing more work that is not necessarily, you're not necessarily being compensated for the more work you're doing. So you have to look and make sure that those things are there. Make sure that insurance is included. You shouldn't pay for insurance. You shouldn't pay for housing. You shouldn't pay for your air tickets. You shouldn't pay for your visas. Your visas are going to be, it's going to be a work visa, and then there's going to be a residency permit. You should pay for none of that. Absolutely none of that. Don't let them give you a high figure and tell you that you will take your expenses from there, because in the end you wind up coming up with less. Example, employer X says we'll pay you 1,000 KD a month, but he says we'll pay you 1,000 KD, and we will provide your round trip plane ticket back to your country of origin, because this is what is mandated from the law. We will provide your health insurance. We'll pay your visa and your residency, but you have to supply, or you are responsible for your own housing. So we'll give you 1,000 dinar, but you're responsible for your own housing. What he didn't tell you is that in most cases the housing can run somewhere between 250 to 300 to 325 dinar, depending on your situation of being single, or if you have a family, or if you have a family with children. So now you should be making about between 800 to 1,000, if not 1,500 on the very high end. But you took the higher end, the 1,000. So now when you take the 1,000 and you subtract that from the rent of 300, for example, you come up with 700 dinar. That 300 is what he's supposed to be paying. In many cases, by law, the employer has to provide at least single family accommodations, or they have to give you some type of housing allowance. So, and this is where you will have more room to negotiate. So if he gives you 1,000, and he'll say, okay, in that 1,000, in that 1,000 is 200 dinar for your housing. Then in reality, he's not giving you 1,000. In reality, he's giving you 800. You see, so you have to be careful with how things are worded, and don't be eager. Don't be eager, because when they need you, they will call you. There will be nothing you can do no wrong when they need you. Oh, and nothing is a problem. Oh, no problem, no problem. Yes, of course, yes, of course, yes, of course. But if you don't know the questions to ask, then you're going to get taken, and you're going to wind up being unhappy. So make sure in the meeting when you discuss the contract terms, what is included in the contract, and that's the first thing. Second of all, what are your responsibilities? What will you be responsible for? Recently, a person that I know was interviewed at a school for an administrative position. The amount of money that they were being offered for the administrative position didn't equal the amount of responsibilities that they would have to undertake. They would have to be the head of the entire department, not just the English department, but the English department, the science department, the math department, anything that falls under English subjects that are taught where the medium is English, they are the head of that department. And the amount that they were being offered and the responsibilities they had didn't equal the salary that was offered, in addition to the housing and the visas and all of these other things. So you have to be very, very careful. Make sure you negotiate very clearly. Take your time, take your time, take your time. Because once you sign, you are bound and obligated by what you sign. And you can't complain, because everything was spelled out for you. And the first thing they're going to say is, well, if you had a problem, why did you sign it? Very, very important. So we're going to conclude this particular segment.